Perek Tet Zion, 16th chapter of the book of Tehillim, Michtam David, Shamreini ki chasiti vach. So a michtam for David, it's a type of psalm we've seen before. It's unclear exactly what it means. It's not clear. There are those who say it's related to a Greek translation. It's related to something that was written on a stone. Others see it as maybe it's supposed to be michtav, a letter, but again, something that we don't know. It's not like many of the others where it's assumed that it's related to a an instrument or a person playing the music or the a choir, etc. But okay, and what does David say, or what is said of David? Preserve me, right? Watch me, God, ki chasiti ba, because I seek refuge in you. Interesting that David says that he seek refuge in you, because in the past chapters we've talked about the aniyim, the anavim, the weak, the lowly have are the ones who seek refuge amongst God. It doesn't seem to me that David saw himself in that way, but it's hard not to put the two together. Not that it would have been good for David to see himself that way. He was the leader, he was the king of Bnei Yisrael. The problem of the person who preceded him, Shaul, was that Shaul did not see himself that way. And in the worst moments of Shaul's life, after, I don't know if it was the worst moments, but after he spared Agag, the king, and Shmuel Hanavi confronted Shaul, Saul said, he said, well, the people wanted X, Y, and Z. And Shmuel said to him, Im katona ta beinecha, rosh shiftei Yisrael ata. You may see yourself as being small, as being lowly, as being weak, but you are the head of the tribes of Israel. You need to stand up. So just something to think about with this chapter, the idea of David saying, chasiti bach, I seek refuge in you. Is he seeing himself like the other people who seek refuge in God? I don't think so completely, but there is much more nuance we can give to it. All right. Pasuk bet, long pasuk off today. Amar tala Adonai, Adoniata, tovati balalacha. You said to God, you are my God. My God, my good is from none other than you. And how is that? L'kdoshim asher ba'aretz hema, v'adirei kol chefsi van. To all the kdoshim, to the people who are holy in the land, and the mighty, and all they desire is might. This verse, it's you can read it in one of two ways. You can read it as being sort of sarcastic, the Kedoshim. They're people who are not holy. It's referring to idol worshippers, as opposed to me, who I say my good is only coming from God. Or you can read it as being, referring literally to Kedoshim, to the righteous people. And David is saying, I want to be one of them. I want to also be a holy person. Continuing in verse 4, Yirbu atzvotam acher maharu bal asich nisrehem midam uval esat shmotam al sifatai. So let the idols, right? Let the idols, the atzavot, let them multiply. Let them be many. Those who, let them chase after their many gods. In the second half of the verse, Balasich, I will not offer libations of blood. I will not take their names upon my lips. David is saying, I'm far, I'm distant from from the way that they worship God. That's not going to be who I am. I am with you, God. I am not looking for idols. I'm not looking for others, like many of my contemporaries. As opposed to them, he says in verse hey, pasuk hey, Adonai minat chelki v'chosi, ata tomich gorali. You are my portion. You, in a sense, are my inheritance and my cup. You maintain my goral, my lot. So my lot is with you, and you maintain my lot, God. Right? David is here, and that's something that we know is true about David. He made terrible errors, mistakes, especially with Bathsheba and Uriah. He always remained loyal to God. You could say he wasn't so loyal when he was going against what God dictates in the Torah. And God, we know it says there in the book of Shmuel, I think it's the 11th chapter of Shmuel, Shmuel Bet, where it says that God was furious with David. But repents. David's loyal to God 100%. That's his lot. That's his place. He understands that God is the one who's placed him in this position. God is the one who took him from the field, as it says when David wants to build the temple. That God says, "I took you from the field. Sort of, I made you." And so David here it's very much the truth that this is the way he sees things. That God is his portion, his lot. God is the one who's placed him there. God is the one who's filled his cup. Chavalim naflu li b'ni'imim, af nachalat shafra alai. Portions have fallen to me in beautiful places, and my inheritance is pleasing to me. It's an interesting word, this word chavalim. It's not usually the way that it's used, but it's used in the same way that the word chelek is used in the verse before. It's probably related to the word chevel, which means a rope. So it's something that sort of attaches to me. It's not usually the usual word for a portion, like we had chelki in the last verse, is the more regular word for a portion, or goral is also as a portion, or nachala. So he says here his inheritance is beautiful. He's happy with what he has. Reminds me of the story of Reb Nachman of Breslov told the story that somebody was looking for something. They're searching here, there. I don't remember, and then he went back to his backyard or something. Shmuel was here, would know the story, and he dug up in his yard and he found the treasure there. The people, right? They go to the Kabbalah Center, they go to the Buddhist ashram. The Buddhists have an ashram. I don't know. They go here, there, everywhere. But you know what? We have a beautiful tradition ourselves. We should be happy with our inheritance, our chelek, our Torah, our beautiful religion that we've been given. Not to say that none of the other religions have nice things in them, but this one is ours, and we shouldn't have to search all over the world. Continuing verse 7. Avarech et Adonai asher ye'atzani, af leilot yisruni chilyotai. I bless God who has given me advice, who's given it counsel, even at night. My kidneys challenge me or charge me. Right. So the idea of to start here of God at night. Night sometimes is literal night, and sometimes it means a time of difficulty, a time of darkness, and even at the time where where things seem troublesome. Nevertheless, I turn to God, even when I'm on my bed, even when I'm worried, even when I'm thinking about my day and what did I do and what did I do things wrong or right. And I'm, it might be a better translation to say my kishkas. My kishkas are upsetting me, my essence of who I am. Nevertheless, I turn to God. And then probably the most well-known verse in this chapter, Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. Well, the first half of the verse at least. I place God, right, is always in front of me. God is at my right hand so that I will not stumble. We know that in many, many synagogues, this phrase, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid, is above the aron in the front. There's a lot of Dalif Neimi Ata Omed, know who you stand in front of, and a lot of Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid in many, many synagogues all over the world, as right, place God before you. You would think we walk into the synagogue, we know we place God before you. I am certainly one of the people guilty talking to the person next to them in shul. So, maybe I say God is in front of me, but I'm going to talk with the guy who's to the right of me. David says otherwise. He says, God is at my right hand. I will not stumble. Maybe he was better. They didn't have shul like we did today. But this is a verse. It's cited, I believe, by Rav Yosef Karo in the opening chapter of the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, where he talks about, that this is an important principle in your everyday life. To have God, to understand that God is with you of all time, which may be in a sense his philosophy or the philosophy of halakha, right? I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Does God really care? I don't know if God cares. There are many statements in amongst the rabbis that God maybe at least one opinion, God doesn't care about the details. It's in order to get us to act properly and to learn how to behave and how to say no to things at times. But the philosophy of halacha, God is near me all times, and everything I'm doing is a reflection of God. There's much more to say about that verse. You can look it up. Psalm 16, verse 8. I'm sure there's lots on the internet. Lachein samach libi v'yagel kvodi. Therefore, my heart is glad, and my honor is right, and I am rejoicing. My flesh too dwells in safety because I have God next to me. I know that everything's going to be okay. I know things will be fine for me. I won't have to worry about certain aspects, certain items, because I have placed God in front of me, as opposed to these others who are running after all of these different idols. Continuing verse 10, Ki lo tazov nafshi lish'ol, lo titein chasitcha lir'ot shachar. You will not abandon my soul to the underworld, to the netherworld. Talked about this idea of Sheol. This is one of the things we've been talking about, and we'll see over and over again. I don't know, over and over again, but at times in Tehillim, saying, I want to stay alive. Don't place me in the underworld, the place where the dead, where you don't come back from. Lo hametim ya hallelujah. The dead can't praise God. Don't abandon me there. I know you won't, God, because you do not want to allow your pious one to be in the pit, lirot shacha, to be at the end, right? If I'm in the pit and I'm dead, how can I bring any goodness about God? How can I bring you into this world? Continue verse 11, Todi'eni orach chayim, sovas machot et panecha, ni'imot bimincha netzach. You will, right? You will make known to me, Todi'eni, it's reflexive, orach chayim, the way of life. The aforementioned Rav Yosef Karo in his Shulchan Aruch, where he begins early on with the verse Shiviti Hashem L'negdi Tamid, that God should always be set right before me. The first section of the Shulchan Aruch is known as the Orach Chaim, and so seemingly, these two, it's not accidental that the Orach Chaim, the way of life, that's where the laws, daily laws, are from brachot to what you do when you get up in the morning, to prayers, to holidays, right? The regular days of life. It's not the details of business transactions or questions related to marriage. The daily thing, you get up, you do X, you do Y, you do Z, you make a bracha, you wash your hands, you go to the bathroom, you make a bracha, you wash your hands, whatever it might be. I know it's a lot of hand washing apparently. Is Orach Chaim, and that's and so not surprisingly that he starts with that same verse and the from the same chapter. And this sovas machot panecha nimot b'mincha netzach, in your presence I am full of joy. At your right hand are my pleasures forever. And so in this, right, I think what to me, at least what's striking to me about this psalm more than anything else, and what's interesting to me is, there's a discussion at times in the Jewish world, Jewish life. Do we appreciate, do we love our Judaism? Do we do it out of a sense of burden, a sense of responsibility, or do we see it also at joy and happiness and beauty? And in this chapter, that's very much what David says. I don't need to search out. I don't need to go and find the other idols and worship them. I keep you next to me, God. And from that, I get pleasure. I get joy. I get happiness. We might change the words from pleasure and joy to happiness to meaning, direction. It doesn't really matter. But either way, it's a sense of joy and happiness that can come and should come from our observance of Jewish life.